Till, in 1836, a sewer worker accidentally discovered an old drain which ran directly into the Bank of England's gold vault. He wrote letters to the directors of the bank and requested a meeting inside the vault at an hour of their choosing, and popped out of the floor to greet them. Kudos to the Bank of England for naming their FAQ section the Knowledge Bank. My bank's ATM once gave me an extra $20 from the drive-through after hours. I came back after work the next day to inform them of the error, and instead of a pat on the back they intensely questioned me about how much the ATM actually dispensed to me. The whole time they treated me like some kind of grifter that was trying to get over on them. That's exactly how you dissuade honesty. Did you call them out on their horrible attitude or just let it slide? My mum got given £20 extra out a cash point. She took it into the bank and they sent her a huge bouquet of flowers with the tag "Honesty is the best policy." I would've switched banks because fuck that. Did you call them out on their horrible attitude or just let it slide? I recently had the opposite happen to me. I withdrew $80, but was only given $60. It was late at night, so I called the bank the next day and was told that errors like that just don't happen, and they would not give me the $20 I was missing. I can understand their reluctance to believe me, since I can imagine people lie about that all the time trying to get some free money, but I was broke and had only $100 in the account, so $20 going missing stung a bit. I even told them I could understand their hesitation in believing me and didn't expect the money. I just wanted them to look into the machine to make sure no one else got shortchanged. Their response was to tell me I was wasting their time with my story. There's no way they don't have an exact count of every penny in that machine and could find out if there's more in it than there should be, but oh well. I get it, people lie and there isn't much of a reason to take me at my word, but it sucks being talked down to like that and treated like a beggar. Something similar happened to me. I used a cash depositing ATM and it somehow doubled my $300 deposit and showed as $600. I panicked and ran in and told the teller. They told me to call their customer service line to clear it up. I did, and somehow I got issued a $300 investigation credit. I guess it was processed like a shortage, so they gave me the amount in question. So I called back and was like, hey, I have $600 of your money and I'm terrified to use my checking account because I don't want to touch any of that. Can someone help me straighten this out? And then I got all kinds of harsh questioning like, so how much do you owe us? It was so frustrating, and it took 4 weeks and like 10 calls to get them to take the money back, and I never once got a thank you. Part of me wishes I would have just waited it out to see if I could have kept the money, because doing the right thing seemed like a waste. Reminds me of when I worked at the casino as a dealer. Make a mistake and pay someone out too much accidentally. Just don't say anything. If surveillance notices, you get in just as much trouble as if you report it yourself. They finally changed that shit after like 25 years. As such, I accidentally paid out a few people over the years. Most people didn't notice, a couple did, and I'm just like, don't worry about it. Exact opposite here. Going out one night, I took $200 out of the ATM. As I was leaving the store, the owner stopped me, and asked me to count my cash. Missing a 20, he asked, and I was. He gave me a 20 from the register, and put an out of service sign on the ATM. I go out of my way to shop at this guy's store, because he actually cares about his customers. Whispers, hey Rusty, PSSSCH, how much did you really get? Same. I withdrew $100 in cash on my lunch break midday, but actually received $120, $20 x 6. I didn't notice until I got back to my office, so I called, and the bank insisted that I was wrong and surely must be miscounting the bills. I do suck at math, but I can count to at least 6. The next day I noticed an additional $20 withdrawal against my account, but no call to say thanks for telling us. Assholes. Funny story, so I work at a bank, and one day one of the teller refilled the ATM the wrong way, so she put the $50 where the $20 go and the $20 when the $50 go. So basically if you were to withdraw $100 in $20 you'll end up getting 5 $50 bills. The ATM were refilled at around 8:45 a.m. We didn't notice anything until a client came in because he got almost $400 more than he asked and he was worried about getting charged with something. I think that day we lost about 10-15K. Really appreciated that guy coming in and letting us know what happened. Was pretty funny watching my manager freak out about it, lol. Real shit. I once deposited around 2K in cash to my bank, mostly in the form of 20s, a couple of 100s, and some 10s. I save 5s and 1s for spending money. The ATM locked up and broke. I pre-counted the money so I knew how much I put in, and how much it said I had. I called the bank. They issued me a credit while they looked into it. 2 days later, they closed the investigation. They credited me an extra $500. Turns out the machine had broken a bunch, and they had spare money in it in the form of 20s or 100s that just didn't get processed. So I ended up making extra money off my honesty. Weird moment, but it bought me dinner so I was happy. I brought a wallet to a police station 9 NCE. Thought I was being polite. I was literally integrated about how I found the wallet for an hour and had to leave a ridiculous amount of info. Last time I'm ever doing that again. I should have just kept the $10. Yep, any more reporting issues like this or flaws in systems will be more likely to get you arrested. After hearing stories like that, you start cheering on the wackos who break 'em outright. There was an ATM at work that was giving out $20 bills instead of $10 bills. They caught it like 2 months later and corrected the balance of everyone who had benefited. Some people suddenly had hundreds of dollars taken from their balance because they had been abusing it. Back when I had home heating oil, the fuel truck made a delivery to my house 2 weeks after I'd already had a delivery. Thought it was odd, so checked the receipt, and it had been meant for a house on a parallel street with the same house number. I didn't want the other person to have to pay for oil that I received, and I didn't want them to possibly run out in cold weather, so I called the oil company to let them know. Because they delivered early accidentally, they turned off the auto delivery, but then forgot to turn it back on again. So, one day my furnace wouldn't turn on, because it had run dry, and it was a weekend, so the emergency refill guy had to be called. He shows up, and proceeds to give me a hard time, because usually people who run dry are deadbeats who haven't been paying their bills. Fun. I switched to natural gas after that. All the bank systems in my city were broken and dispensing huge amounts without verifying it was in the account. People were getting hundreds a time and the ATMs were quickly running out of money. If I were you, after they treated me like that, I'd go to the same ATM and get more $20s. Wait, drive-through ATMs are a thing? If a bank fucks up, let them fuck up. They wouldn't help you out of the good of their hearts. In fact, banks have ruined plenty of lives in the last few decades. At least you're not this guy. Hey, I work at a credit union and while they didn't probably have enough tact to deal with it, we do get grifters a few times a week and it gets very old and exhausting. Saying I got X in the ATM when I should have got Z is one of our more common encounters with wannabe scammers. Any chance it was Buffet? Sounds like something they'd do. This will probably get lost in the comment thread, but I once deposited a $600 check at an ATM, but accidentally pressed an extra 0 when I filled out the deposit amount on the screen. So I had $6,000 just sitting in my account. I notified both the owners of the ATM, a different bank than the bank account I was depositing into, as well as my own bank, but it took 3 months for them to correct the mistake. My bank finally told me that it was the job of the ATM owning bank to count the cash or look at the check that was deposited and make a visual comparison to the digitally entered amount on the deposit slip. After 2 months of trying to talk to the bank that owned the ATM via phone and email, I finally went in person to explain the issue. It turns out the person who was supposed to visually confirm deposits had been barely paying attention, just glancing at things and marking them down as correct regardless, so they got fired. So not only did I sit on $6K and not spend it, but I probably could have gotten away with spending it. I once got a $100 bill with my withdrawal at a privately owned ATM at a convenience store. The clerk started loosing it on me, saying that it was theft and she was going to call the cops. She filled the machine and accidentally put the bill on there. I told her go ahead, it was her screw up, and my lucky day. The owner banned me from the store the next day. Maybe the ATM was giving everyone extra 20s, so they had a big shortage, but you were the first/only one to bring anything back. I would have immediately become non-compliant. If you want answers, do your own research. You must be the only honest person who banks with them. That cash machine had probably been dispensing extra 20s all day. Zany face. And how likely is it were you the only one to get a Vegas-style payout that you would come back to return a single 20? People are idiots. Unamused face. 1836, no video cameras, subpar security. I probably would have taken a bar a day until they began to notice. But where to fence stamped gold bars without being killed in 1836 London? Gold is very soft. You could make it indistinguishable with a hammer. And do what with it? If it was in bar form, it would be very difficult to change it into useful currency, without bringing other people in and therefore increasing risk of being caught or killed. I'm guessing Sewerman didn't typically have much contact with the kind of people who could launder or fence money. He could have stockpiled some and left the country. But that's still difficult and dangerous. Without recasting the bars to get rid of the stamp, it will be obvious they were stolen. Not to mention many people have friends and family that they don't want to abandon. Eventually they would discover the tunnel though. You'd have to make sure there had been plenty of different people down there so they don't straight away think of you. I would have just taken it all in one night and been gone before they opened the next day tbh. Load up a couple horses or whatever they had then and dip the fuck out. Live out life however you wanted to. Dreams. The guy who spent all that time tunneling into the vault must have been pissed. God damn it, Frank. You couldn't have just taken one gold bar. Good for him. I don't think I could resist just taking the gold and vanishing. In the future, people will be arrested before they commit a crime. So don't admit such things. Probably wouldn't be worth it. Different time period. All the kinds of people who would even buy and sell in gold bars would probably be connected upper class folk. The opportunity to pop into a bank vault like a gopher right in front of its owner? Worth more than all the gold in Britain. 300 points have been deducted from your social credit score. Really? You couldn't resist living a life watching over your shoulder and going through the trouble of finding a good and safe way to sell that gold? Risky too. What if someone else stole some before the dude showed up through the floor? Could get blamed for shit while just trying to do the honest thing. He got 80k for it? I'd take an honest 80k over 500k that I'd have to watch over my shoulder for the rest of my life for. Reminds me of the guy who figured out some scratcher lottery and kept writing the company letters about how their randomized system was broken and how he could figure out which ones were winners and which ones weren't. They kept ignoring him until he sent them a stack of unscratched scratchers where he wrote down which ones would be winners and which would be losers and got it like 97% correct. They called him up toot sweet after that. He could have just kept winning if he wanted to. Edit. Article. Although I first heard about it on an episode of This American Life or Freakonomics or Radiolab or something. They are all quite similar. I forget where I heard stuff. That's awesome. Also for future reference, it's tout sweet, from French for right now, just in case you ever write it somewhere formal, smiley face. I worked at 7-Eleven and my GM would buy entire rolls of scratchers after checking them into the system and always won. I asked a coworker what was going on, and he informed me that when he activates a roll of tickets, the system tells him how much the money the store is on the hook for, so they know if they need to keep extra cash on hand. If the amount was greater than the cost of the roll, he would buy the whole roll. After he fired me, coworker lied to save her own ass. I called the lottery commission and explained what was going on. They informed me no one could know the winners. I told his area director and he didn't seem to care. The GM had worked there 15 years, but he was fired less than 6 months after he fired me, so at least I got a little satisfaction in the end. Interesting article. Seems the lotteries still haven't learned from their mistakes. And the woman in Texas who won big 4 times is definitely scamming them. If I tried to inform the company it was broken and they ignored me, I would not have been as good a person as that guy. I'd have just gamed the system, since it's not my responsibility anymore, and that's usually the fastest way to make them realize something is up. That just irritates the fuck out of me. Why you wouldn't take money from a fucking gambling institution that bases its business model on ripping off people with gambling addictions and is so profitable as to apparently ignore these losses and instead invest that cash into your local community, charities, public services, etc. is beyond me. Like, honesty is a good thing, but actually having the means to make a difference is so rare, and throwing that away for a fucking gambling house is baffling. This reminds me of people who win the lottery and still keep working. This happened at my place of work. A woman won over £2.5 million and still came to work. From what I heard, she was kind of pushed out by coworkers because they felt the job could go to someone who actually needed it. He didn't win the lottery. He just had the opportunity to commit a crime without being caught and didn't. Huge difference. I would do the same, TBH. Maybe not full time, but at least 50%. I just wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have a job, and I would never leave the house if I didn't have a reason to. Work would be my source of things to do and source of daily interaction with people. After the initial shock, a stock take revealed that he hadn't taken any gold. For his honesty, the bank rewarded him with a gift of £800, which would be worth approximately £80,000 in today's money. About $103,000 in USD. Edit, looks like I now have more gold than he ever did. After the initial shock, a stock take revealed that he hadn't taken any gold. Imagine they had some undiscovered loss before, or miscounted, or the count didn't match for other reasons. No gold has ever been stolen from the bank in over 320 years of history. However, there is a story that suggests that the bank had a lucky escape in Victorian times. The cynic in me suggests this is apocryphal. Sherlock Holmes, The Red-Headed League. Remember folks, if you see a job on Indeed or whatever promising £100 a week for a red-headed man to copy out the encyclopedia, then it's probably false. After the initial shock, a stock take revealed that he hadn't taken any gold. For his honesty, the bank rewarded him with a gift of £800, which would be worth approximately £80,000 in today's money. That was nice of them. I somehow doubt these days banks would be that thankful. Yeah, now you'd just be arrested for planning to break into a vault, no questions asked. It would suck if they recounted and found out the vault was missing some gold because someone else found out about the secret tunnel first and the sewer worker took the fall. It would suck even more if they saw a way to get some easy compensation or something. Well, the count says the numbers match, but what if we say they don't? Once upon a time in the state of Maryland, I ordered $13,000 USD in half dollars. The bank manager invited me into the vault and allowed me to stack the cases, $500 USD per case, on a hand truck. She told me they keep $20,000 on hand for daily business. It was surreal being in a bank vault and stacking 60% of what they use in a day and carting it out to my car. Why on earth would you need $13K in half dollars? That's like 26,000 coins. I'm guessing this was to gain credit card points. There was a loophole where the US Treasury would let you purchase coins via credit card with no tax or fee. Buy a bunch of half dollars, cash them in, pay off the card, repeat the cycle. Basically free money. There's a lot more interesting stories you can tell us besides being in the vault. Spill it, man. Thanks for watching. If you could like, subscribe and comment best Reddit stories for more Reddit videos.